All right. 6 o'clock. Let's meeting in order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Beautiful. Also going to read our district mission statement. In partnership with the communities, the mission of the Dilworth, Lynn, and Fulton School District is to educate individuals in an environment of trust and respect so they become self-directed, responsible, lifelong learners. All right, roll call. We have 2 board members out this evening. Brittany Keel and Nicole Reno are both out ill, and Laura Item is on her way. We had to switch locations, so if anybody's watching at home wondering where we are, this is our new middle school choir room, which is the old media center, and it's beautiful, beautiful space. So anyway, also joining us is Superintendent Hunstead, Principal Wayne Lepard, and our Brooke Belka, our wonderful admin assistant, right-hand person to Shannon.
Amen.
So, all right, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Nope, just under my list of things, if you look at that ABCD or whatever, I'm going to talk a little bit about the paras and MREA and then the intergovernmental retreat.
Okay.
So I'm just adding a few items, but no agenda items.
Okay, beautiful. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Motion by David, is there a second? Second by Micah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comments, rebel recognition. David, how did the play go this weekend?
Both the middle school and the high school play were very good. They're shorter plays, 1-act plays.
Okay.
A lot of kids involved in particularly the middle school.
Mhm.
They did great. I mean, it's just fun to see kids that maybe aren't involved in sports or something else. That
Mhm.
the opportunity to-
Well, you said there was like a lot of kids that were trying out, right? That he was.
In the high school too, typically 1-act play is not, I mean, there's a handful of kids and
Yeah.
there were probably 20 who were better.
Oh,
So,
wonderful. That's
Probably
awesome.
more than that even. It was a good group of kids. And some of them are understudies that won't go to competition, but
Mhm.
yeah. It was,
So now when is competition coming up?
competition is this Saturday.
Okay.
And then I don't know, first or second. Then they go on to regions and they win in regions, they go out to state.
Oh, wonderful. I know I wanted to get there, just didn't happen to get there, but I was thinking of you and I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
David will be
No,
there. We'll get a
I
good
was
report.
there. Mike was there.
Yeah, good. You enjoyed it?
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's great.
It was very funny.
What are you getting?
The Rebel dance team took first in the meet that they
Hosted.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
And it was a jazz or kick?
That is a good question.
Yes.
Yeah,
You think it was kick?
it was, yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm sorry I'm late. The roads were so icy. I
No worries.
wasn't expecting that.
And
Put
then
you
your
right
anything
here.
eventful was
We're missing a
wrestling
couple of
like
days.
that?
Varsity wrestling beat Durham head to head, first time in over 40 years. So
That's
that's
awesome.
very sweet. And then the JV / 7th through 9th grade qualified again for the state tournament here. Didn't quite have the results that they were hoping for, but still nonetheless, it's combined as one class throughout the whole state. So they were one of 24 teams that made it down there again. So they've had some good success.
Awesome. That's great. The girls basketball team is doing well this year. They're almost 500. So I think I've been watching them and doing a great job. And the boys team is on an 8-0 run right now. So we'll see tonight. We play East Grand Forks, but we are #1 in the HOL so far. So Firm had a bad week. Well, wrestling beat them and then we beat them. It's always sorry, Firm, I like you people, but it's always fun to beat you. Just kidding. Yeah, so lots of exciting things going on for our students, so that's awesome. All right, Laura, do you have any rebel recognition?
I do.
All righty. All right, let's move on to DGF elementary report. Mr. Lepard, and he handed out a sheet, elementary principal report for us here, so.
All right, well, thanks for the invitation this evening. I'm just gonna go through a few highlights and then some things just to kind of, for your reference to other things going on. But, so Assistant Principal Brittany Junk and I are meeting tomorrow for about 2 hours to go through a lot of this things that I'm gonna be talking about here. So kindergarten registrations, we're already looking at that. March 28th, we'll have kindergarten roundup, and we're gonna tweak it a little bit this year with not just kind of the parents and students walking the building, but we're gonna have a presentation for about a half an hour first with myself and Brittany, our nurse, Jamie, transportation and food service. All of those, do a little talk on that so people are a little more familiar with those kinds of things leading up to the start of school. And then we'll do the walkthrough where they can meet the teachers and that kind of thing after that. So that's March 28th. And then PBIS, that's Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. That's kind of a staple in the elementary for probably the last 10 years, 15 years or so. And so we have a staff of an elementary staff that's been there, hate to say forever, but a very long time, about a third of them, another third that are very new. We have another third that don't have any training at all on PBIS. So we're just trying to, how do we get everybody on the same page? There's an overview of a philosophy of what PBIS is. It's kind of a framework, but every school does it a little bit differently. So we're just trying to merge ideas and concepts together. And Kurt Slater was our speaker, motivational type of speaker that we had at the beginning of the year. And he is actually, he trains all over the country. I mean, the last time I talked to him, he was in Ohio doing the training, but this last week. But he's the gentleman that anything you find for information that's been created at the Department of Ed, he did it. And so he's outstanding. He's very motivational. But we're going to have him come on the 16th of March, I believe is the date. And then he's going to meet with the principals on February 24th to plan that day more detailed with that. But so we've been on the phone quite a bit the last week or so, myself and he. Reading language arts is, I would say, is probably the biggest focus we have right now. The curriculum we've had is, we need a change, I'll just say that. And so it hasn't been very successful. And so what we are, we just had a meeting today, so I'll reference that in a minute. But so in December, we started looking at what do we want to do. We started looking at curriculum materials, different companies, presentations. There's two sides of this. One is if and when do we start a curriculum. I was saying loftily we could get something started in the fall. I'm not opposed to waiting a year and a half. And the other thing is we had a presentation by what's called LETTERS. It's essentially the science of reading, and it's teachers learning to understand how kids learn how to read. And most teachers have never truly had that. And that's kind of a thing that's going across the country right now. And Minnesota's really moving into that right now. But had a presentation on that today after school, and our committee is a very, very good, solid, positive moving group right now. And so, so what I'm saying is that LETTERS is one thing, curriculum is another. Today, after we got done, everybody was 100% on board that we have to do this LETTERS. And I said, well, how would you feel if we did that? And I knew the answer. How would you feel if we did LETTERS and a curriculum adoption at the same time? They'd be overwhelmed. So I said, I'm not opposed to waiting a year and a half, but I really believe we have to do this LETTERS thing. So we're going to look more into that and visit with Shannon probably later this week on that. Quarterly celebrations. We do one every quarter. First quarter was Veterans Day program. This week on Friday is our second quarter celebration in the SRO Valcallen, and Police Chief Justin Vogel will be presenting some things there for kids. Third quarter, we have that planned. It's called cup stacking. I'm a little bit older, but I didn't really know what cup stacking was till about a year ago. But it's a guy he's nationally known. He's autistic. He's in his early 20s right now. I've looked him up. He's been on lots of the Today Show or different things like that. But kind of coming from a autistic perspective on what cup stacking was about and how it improved him and his confidence, those kind of things. So he'll be here to do that on their third quarter celebration. And we also do some character and perfect attendance kind of recognition as well. Teacher evals, 2 out of 3 evals are done so far for non-tenured. We'll finish those up in February, and then non-tenured will be done, or tenured will be done in February, March. Those have 1 a year. Paraprofessional, Minnesota Paraprofessional Week recognition is this week. We have something going on each day for those folks to recognize them. They're an outstanding group for us anyway in the elementary. I know they are on the other sites. The rest of that list is just what Brittany and I will be meeting about for the rest of the year and then going into next year too. So it's just a lot of near types of topics we got to talk about, things for the spring and then planning for next year, those kind of things. Any questions you have for me or later, you can shout at me and ask a question. So, okay?
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
All right, board committee reports. I don't think we've had any committee meetings, or do you guys
We
have
had
policy?
policy.
I'm sorry, yeah, you have policy.
Yeah, we have policy and the ones that we will approve tonight, just a lot of formality, statute changes that the MSBA recognized and wanted us, threw it into our policy. So, really nothing too controversial.
And
It's
actually,
pretty standard, yeah.
is there some place online where we can just, parents or teachers or anybody can get
Yep, all of our policies are on our website.
on our website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe if you go under school board
It's-
or around, it's in that same
It is our district, school
District
board and policy.
policy.
Okay, it's under
Yep.
Yeah.
board policies, got it.
District leadership on
Oh,
Friday.
that's right. How did that go?
I thought
For
it
both
went
of
great.
you.
It was just, kind of the intro, everyone went around and said who they were and how they were affiliated to the community or school. And we established that we would meet on Thursday mornings at 7. And then Shannon showed us different examples of the
Strategic goals.
strategic plan. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, it makes kind of a, what do we want to get out of this? And so, am I missing?
No, I was gonna share a little bit too during my report, but
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
no, that's good. Yeah, it was more of an introduction and kind of the role of the district leadership team, as advisors, and they can make recommendations too, but ultimately the board is the decision-making group. And so, but it's also another area or a place to voice. We had 4 students there, 4 juniors, and they, like I shared with them a couple times, they're going to be somebody that we're going to listen to a lot because they're in the trenches living it. What's working, what's not working, what are some needs and wants, as a student perspective, right? Because we sit out here and we kind of have an idea, but I agree. It was a good introduction, I believe. So looking forward to working with them more.
Perfect.
We went to the MSBA conference. And I suppose it was kind of working sessions down there, but we didn't really tackle any projects per se. I went to a lot of good sessions, really good speaker on the first day, talking about what you bring with you and your biases that you have, sort of thing. It was quite dynamic. And just a good time by all. I'm sure everyone's got different things. I went to a seminar on insurance. I don't know. I don't think anybody wants to hear that. I thought it
I was gonna say, when I read the book and I was looking at some of those, there was different classes this
Yeah.
year. Some different seminars, so
Yeah.
I'm glad the 4 of you were able to go with Shannon. I'm super, I had fear of being, left out. And then Amy's like, the speaker was amazing. And I'm like, because it is such a good time. And it does, you realize I did get to visit with a couple school board members from Ullin this weekend. And they were talking about how they enjoyed the speaker as well and had some really good classes and discussions. So it's always fun to hear another school board's perspective.
For sure.
So they're like, we should do like a school board swap and you guys come sit at ours, we sit at
Yeah.
yours. And,
Learn from one another.
well, yeah, they have theirs on Wednesday nights, which I'm like, oh, that's kind of odd, but yeah, they only meet once a month, so.
Mhm.
Anyway, wonderful. Anything else, team? Board committee reports. All right, Superintendent, you're up.
Alrighty, well, I'll just reiterate a little bit MSBA was, and I went to quite a few sessions too. It's just nice for me as a superintendent to network, especially with Micah, a new board member. We got to rub elbows and visit a lot, just so you get to know people. And so it kind of builds a relationship. So when you start bringing things up, they kind of have an idea where you're coming from. And I think that's important. So I really appreciate the time. David and I rode together, so we had some time to just visit to get to know each other better too. So that matters to me, you know, and that's just important. And I just really appreciate the time that we had. And Dr. Adolph Brown is the guy's name. So if anybody wants to look him up, he is an extremely dynamic person. And the one thing I think that resonated with me, there was quite a few things that he said that were pretty powerful, but one was, don't believe everything you think. I'm thinking, okay. And, you know, the judge a book by its cover and that kind of approach, because remember how we dressed and then how we left. I mean, he came in, looked like he was some gangster, and he left with his role, his doctorate and his master's degree. I mean, he walked out with all of his stuff, I guess.
Accolades, yeah.
Yeah, accolades as a professional and as a professor now. So kind of interesting, and you know, his perspective. But Dr. Adolph Brown, it's worth a visit to his site. So anyway, Para Week, I just want to acknowledge them too and thank them. They had pizza. I know today we bought pizza for them to say thank you. And like Wayne said, there's going to be some different things each day, but they are the people too in the trenches. We know that they take on a lot of things that some of us don't even realize. So I just want to do a shout out to them and thank them for their time and their efforts. And it's very important. The district leadership team, and we kind of touched base. Laura brought that up. That was Friday. It went very well. Again, it was just more of that intro, nothing too special, but kind of wanted to plant the seed so they understand their role, especially with those students too. Kind of like, what is this? What did I get into? But then also showed some samples of MSBA strategic plans that they've done with districts. So I showed some samples, shared it out in an email later. But then also other districts that didn't use MSBA and what theirs look like and what do we want to do and in that process. So our next meeting is going to be to talk about the survey we want to send out to our community to start establishing what are the things that the district needs, wants, you know, whatever, and then start setting as a school board, then setting those priorities. So as a superintendent, I said this is really the driver for me. It sets the stage of where we need to go. So instead of always reacting, we're going to start setting a course and a plan of action. And I think that's the part that I want to make sure it's tied to our mission statement, to our vision, our belief statements. So how do they all tie together? So then we do things on purpose. And that's what's, I feel I'm missing as your superintendent. I don't have the direction that I like. It's not anybody's fault. It's just we're trying to get through some things. And as we get through them, it's going to be an opportunity to do just that, I hope. So very excited about that and working with that group. Which is the next thing is the strategic plan. So I shared my goals with you guys and what that I'm hoping will look like. And that's something when I first got here, remember when we met with MSBA, that was one of our goals. Well, then the building and then, and here we are. So we've had a lot of discussions about tabling that and waiting until we get in it. I think that's the right thing. That's been a challenge for me and who I am, but it was the right thing to wait. And now we can kind of dial in, hopefully, really what we have going forward. Construction update. Really happy with Minko and their communication. Marla came over last week, sat down with Marcus when I was in another meeting and went through all the bills up to date, the retainage that's going to go out and cleaning up this project in Glendon. Just super informative, no surprises, makes sense how the billing is. It's been very nice. I'll just leave it at that. The building is nice and clean over there in Dilworth. Well, there's a lot going on. We're projected to finish. I visited with Jeff today. We did a little walk around. We have a huge basketball tournament, Community Ed, Tracy's putting on February 25th, I think it is. And they're pretty much, everything they are doing is to be ready for that completely and being open. And so that's getting our elementary admin up there, our elementary office up there, starting to drop off, get total access. And so that's their goal. Jeff today felt that is extremely doable, and talking with the state guy, he feels confident. Talking to the contractors today, he felt confident. So, yeah, it's a lot of cleanup on that, and it's getting finally dialed in. One of the other things I need to talk about is the shop. The shop is dialed in to be almost exactly the same time. It's going to be right around that 20th of September, or I'm sorry, February, in that time period. We did make quite a few adjustments with the electrical in there, making sure that it was dialed in right for the equipment we have. There was a little snafuing on that, where we needed more 220s, we needed this, we needed that, and so we had to reconfigure that a little bit. But again, I've been really happy with that same, I guess, the process that it's become with Mako Construction, and so I've really been happy with that. MREA, I shared an email with you guys today about this school board directors webinar. So hopefully you can see that. I shared the email with you because you can register.
What's the date? So it's a
February, I know.
Oh, so it's wrong.
It is. It's wrong on the email, but then when you open it up, it's actually February 3rd and February 6th. In the email, I think it said January.
Yep, it did.
So when I opened it, I thought, well, what good is that? And they sent it out today.
Yeah.
But it was a typo. It said January, it should have said February. That's why I wanted to make sure tonight I talked to you. I said I'd talk to you at the board meeting. But it might be something you want to check out. They have weekly legislative updates. I have one tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Sam Walseth, who MREA's lead lobbyist, runs those meetings with Bob Indar, the executive director. Very informative, and up to date on kind of what's happening with the legislative discussions and what it looks like. And then what's nice about that is, sorry, but I got a stupid running nose today. Is that if there's something that's really pressing, there's no decisions made yet, right? So then it's that time and that opportunity to call your legislator and say, hey, this is a big one. This is a big deal. We need to visit about this because this has this kind of impact on our school. So just that information gives you an opportunity then to share it to your local representatives so they can push it or not push it, or at least you have a good discussion and you feel like you're heard. So I just want to make sure I shared that with you guys. And then the last thing is on Friday, I was at the Intergovernmental Retreat in Moorhead, the 54th annual. I had a chance to present DGF schools, so shared some photos about our new facilities, talked about our farm to school grant that we just got for $71,000, talked about how we're getting some 10,000 pounds of beef from a local farmer, how we're using honey from a local farmer, how we're getting, and just because this whole meeting in Intergovernmental Retreat was how can we connect with our county, with our, all these different entities, and it kind of fit perfect as to what was happening out here and what we've been trying to accomplish recently. So that was good. And then there was a presenter, another Shannon, I'm going to forget her last name, Shannon Full. She is the president and CEO of the Fargo-Moorhead West Fargo Chamber of Commerce. And she talked about this Ignite program. And so this is something I want to talk to Joe and Shelley about at the high school, and Katie, about connecting our students with career pathways, career awareness, career exploration. They have a nice program that would be super beneficial for our kids. And a lot of it is taken care of or paid for and set up. So it's kind of anyway, so she did a really nice job, and I thought, you know what, there's an opportunity maybe for our kids too to tap into that resource, which was also very good on Friday. So questions for me? Oh, and I should do a shout out. Nicole was the color guard at that meeting. So she brought in the colors and was in charge. So kudos to Nicole if you're at home watching us. You did a nice job. So anything else or questions for me?
I don't think so. Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah.
I had a quick question.
Oh.
And maybe you can just refresh my memory. How was it decided on which community members and like students be a part of the district leadership group?
Great question. I asked principals for lists of names because I wanted to make sure I had parents that were in the elementary. I needed parents in the middle school, and I wanted parents that had high school students. So I asked the principals, assistant principals, hey, can you give me a list of names? And then I got the list of names from them, and then I sent out an email asking if they'd be interested. They gave me some alternates if we didn't get enough. So, and yeah, that's kind of how it went. And then I asked for juniors. I wanted juniors because it's a 2-year deal. They'll be this year, next year. And then at the end of next year, I want kind of get a new batch of juniors. I didn't want seniors this year only because they're on their way out. They got enough going on, and I wanted somebody that was going to be around for this year and next. And so that's why I did that. And I got those names from high school and middle school staff. And so then I did shout out to them. And yeah. Otherwise, I was trying to think, how do you do it, right? And how do you kind of keep it? Because we couldn't have the group to be, 40, 60. So it's like, okay, how should I do this? And then they told me the grades. So you talk to a few of these parents that we had there. Hey, I got a 4th grader, 6th grader, 8th grader. Oh, because you're kind of both. And then there was some younger. So that was the process. Yeah. Thanks for asking. Other things?
All right, we'll move on to 7.1. This is the approval of the January 9th, 2023 meeting. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Amy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Laura. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda, claims and accounts. Laura?
$1,060,157.35.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Sure, $1,060,157.35.
Thank you.
All right. Also included in your packet is the approve and file for the audit of the treasurer's monthly budget report. We have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by David. Is there a second? Second by Micah. Any questions or discussions?
I do want to let you know, because obviously here later, we're going to approve our final budget. So if you look at the budget that's in the consent agenda, that does not have any of the ESSER funds tied to it. And if you look at the percentage, we're at 43 something percent. I have it here somewhere. And that does not reflect any of the ESSER funds. And I'll talk to that point when we get to our final budget for discussion a little bit. But it was 43.64%. You could see December, it's 41%. January is 50%. We're in the middle of January, so our percentage-wise, we're in a good place right now. Just so you remember or remind you that 1% in our districts is about $180,000. Okay, so we start looking at percentages and where we're at. I just wanted to make sure you understood that again. And then it did not reflect ESSER funds. We're in our final budget, as we'll get to here later in this meeting. I'll discuss or share with you more specifically what that looks like. Okay?
All right. So we have a motion by David, a second by Micah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New and unfinished business, 9.1, 2023 committee representatives. This is for school board committee representation on committees for the 2023 year. Do we have a motion? So moved. Motion by Amy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Laura. Any discussion or questions? All right, hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9.2, this will be proclamation of paraprofessional week. This is the week of January 23rd through 27th. As the 2023 is the DGF Paraprofessional Recognition Week. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Laura. Is there a second? Second by Micah. Any discussion or questions? I just want to shout out to our paraprofessionals as well. Thank you for all that you do for our students. You guys are an integral part of our school district and we appreciate you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9.3, this is to approve the second reading of the following policies. 102, equal educational opportunity. 204, school board meeting minutes. 205, open meetings and closed meetings. 207, public hearings. 211, criminal or civil action against school district, school board member, employee, or student. And 534, school meals. A motion. Motion by David. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Amy. Any questions or discussion? Hearing no questions or discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9.4, this will be the first and only reading of the following policies. 528, student, parental, and family. 529, staff notification. 532, use of peace officers. 601, school district curriculum. 602 organization of school calendar, 613 graduation requirements, 618 student achievement, 619 staff development. Do we have a motion? Motion by David. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Micah. Any questions or discussion?
What makes it the first and only reading as opposed to doing a follow-up?
These are annual ones, then these from MSB only require one. They don't require two readings, so that's why we went through them last time too and said, okay, do we need any changes or do we need to make a second one or whatever? But based on these, and they're pretty basic, they're annual things that you have to go through, where the other ones, they're probably on an every 3 to 5 year rotation. These are annual, so.
Any other questions? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9.5, this is our final budget for the FY23. Do we have a motion? Motion by Laura. Is there a second? Second by David. All right, discussion.
Did you guys see it in your packet?
Yep, last page.
Yep, should have been, yeah. And so there you can see on the left, it's expenses, and on the right column or middle column, I guess it is, there's revenues. And then you see the total on the far right, and you can go down. You know from our audit that we showed a $718,000 deficit spending last year, and I talked about it at that point, that the ESSER funds didn't get transferred in, which was unfortunate, so it looked just like, oh no, what happened? We have over $1 million in ESSER funds. I told you that in the next year, we're going to recover all that back and a little bit more. So if you look at our total, our budget for this next year, because we're going to move over those ESSER funds, and you can see in the revenues, the last line of the ESSER, it says ESSER funds under revenue there is 1.026 million. That's what we have. We're going to put that into this budget, and after it's all done, you can see we have an $827,000 surplus. So our fund balance, unrestricted fund balance, will go, because it took a hit, we'll now recover and get back to that 1.2 or 1. Well, this will put us at 1.3, almost 1.4 million, which is good. That's what we need. We need to get to our policy. We need to get to 1.9. And that's our plan, is how can we get there the following year? But we can recover quick with an additional about 100,000 in there. I wanted to make sure the public heard that too, because the audit was not the way I wanted it to be. And so now we can show that in this budget. Again, the other one that we talked about already, the consent agenda. Now this is our new budget, so now we'll start to see the percentages based on this. Obviously, the percentages are going to be lower, because now we're going to insert some of these ESSER funds, right? So our percentage is not going to be at 50%. It should be 40% still again, and we won't see much change in that. Questions, other questions about this final budget? I mean, that's the big one I wanted to make sure we covered. But without ESSER funds, we're looking at about $198,000 deficit instead of 270, 280, what we originally thought. That 198 is also extremely conservative. When Marcus and I went through it again today, as long as the stars stay the way they are and we don't have too many crazy things, that 198 was going to be pretty much a zero budget. Trying to be conservative with our enrollment numbers, trying to be conservative in multiple budgets, just to be safe, to make sure we have buffer. So I just want to make sure I shared that too publicly. So
Thank you. All right, we have a motion by Laura, a second by David. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're going to move on to 10.1. Our next board meeting is scheduled for Monday, February 13th. This meeting will also be back here in the DGF Middle School Choir Room. After that meeting will be personnel at the conclusion of the board meeting. Again, just for you board members, we are going to be working on getting a work session. Shannon and I are going to look at the calendar. Got a lot of stuff. We just need to have a working session to go through. We'll do a supper and have some sandwiches or something to get all that lined up. So we are adjourned, not our 6:35. Kirk, you want to shut that off?
Thank you, Wayne. Yes, enjoy the game. We'll be there when we can.